Hello and welcome to another Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Ellie. Now, joining me today is my co-host, Angela Andrieux. Hello, Angela.
Hey, everyone. Hello, Vanelli. Great to see you.
You too. Now, Angela, what do we have for our show today? The weekly wrap-up.
Well, we're going to do our kind of recap of the topics we covered this week. So for me, that was how to deal with an image, a single exposure that has a darker foreground and a brighter background, or something that just has a wider dynamic range. And then I'm also going to show you how to work with Aurora Hdr from Luminar AI. The integration's a little bit better than it was in previous applications. So we went through that, and so I'll show you the before and after of what I did there as well.
Awesome.
What about you, Vanelli?
Now I'm going to show eyes, how to enhance eyes, and also how to add mist. How to add mist to your images. Now, you did say we had an update to Surge, or was it the Mac version? You want to talk about that quick?
So we have, sure. So earlier this week, we put out an update for Microsoft, Apple's new operating system, macOS Big Sur, and that should fix any issues you're having with Luminar 4 and Aurora Hdr when you're exporting. That was an issue we had right off the bat when that operating system dropped. That's been fixed. There's also been another issue that's been reported where people's folders become disconnected from their location. In most cases, that has to do with a preferences thing in the new OS. What you'll need to do is just reconnect those folders. If you need help doing that, definitely email support@skylum.com and our team will walk you through it. So
awesome.
Oh, and we also have a launch date, or projected launch date anyway. That's the other cool news. So for those of you who haven't heard, Luminar AI is going to be coming out expected on December 15. So that's very big news.
Well, that's awesome. Already in our comments, we have Pat. And let me see if I can pull this up for you. One moment.
All right.
Yep, there we go. Wish list for Luminar 4 and Luminar AI would be great if we could able to catch lights to the eyes that don't have them. Gee, I feel like a genie. Your wish is our command. I'm going to show you how to do that in this episode. We didn't just do it just now. This is something that's been really, really cool and something that's in the making. All right. Well, Angela, how about you go first?
Sure.
Let me
go ahead and click over to my screen.
Okay. Yep. There we are. Oh,
excellent.
Look at these images.
All right. So here's the first one we worked on earlier this week, and this is an image that, initially, let me show you the before. Was a little bit flat. You could tell the horizon area was really bright. The foreground was darker. With some help of some templates, or with a template, and going in and tweaking a few things in the edit module, we went from this to this. And so it brought out a lot of detail in the sky, added some color. We brought in that late afternoon glow. If I go over here into my edit module and take a look back here in our history, so we applied the Wild Edges template. That one came with some film grain added, and I'm not really a fan of that, so we took that out. We balanced out our tones a little bit more here with the Enhance AI and the Sky Enhancer. We fixed our crop a little bit, and we added some golden hour, which always does beautiful things for that late afternoon or early morning light. And then, because it was still a little bit bright, we pulled those highlights down a little bit more. Now, I want to show you one other way that I would process this image, and it kind of leads into where I went later in the week. Was talking about Aurora Hdr. So on, would have been yesterday, I showed you how to go from Luminar to Aurora Hdr with a couple of bracketed images, but also do this with a single image. And I actually really love what it did with this photo. So I'm going to go here back to my catalog, and I'm going to right click on the image, and I'm going to tell it to open in Aurora Hdr. Go ahead and let that open up. Should be pretty fast since it's only a single image. Let's give that a second to load. All right, so let's go ahead and click on Create HDR. And just by virtue of opening this in the program, it's going to open up those shadows and those highlights and bring up detail in those areas that we didn't even know was there. It's a completely different process than what Luminar does. And look at that. It's stunning. I love, there's extra color in the sky, there's extra detail. Now the colors here in the foreground did get a little bit too bright, a little too saturated for me. That's easy to fix. Please go down to, where is it, the HSL here. We can go here to our luminance, grab that slider and tone that down a little. We can do the same with the yellows. balance that out a little bit more. And we went from this to this. Now I'd probably still crop it a little bit, so I take it back into Luminar, do a little bit more work there. But you can see how much closer that gets you by opening a single image, especially with that wide dynamic range, into and just letting Aurora do its thing. I didn't do anything else. I didn't add any looks. That's just what happens when you open an image in Aurora. So
that's awesome.
That was pretty fun.
That is awesome. All right, do you want to do the second one? You want to let me do mine first, then you do yours?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do one?
All right, let's see. All right, so here we are. Now, for this image here, we're going to enhance just the eyes, but here's before and after. Here's before, and here's after. Now, interestingly, there we go. I'll zoom in a little bit tighter. Here's those catch lights we were talking about. Watch this. Before and after. Now, what I did do is I came over to the history, and I wanted to see how I actually started. So I used a faded template, then from there went on to start doing all my enhancements. So I'm going to clear my history. So we're starting from scratch, and I did come over to the template, and then from here it recommended some of these for me. Let's see. Oh, I didn't save it. That's fine. I believe I used, was it close-up? Nope. So what we'll do is, let me go back over, and it wasn't one of these, but it suggested fade, which if I come down here, easy portraits, here it is, fade, which already I like that. So off the bat, that looked really good. So now I'm going to come over to my edits, and under portrait, we'll just focus on the eyes. So I'm going to zoom really, really in tight. Now this is what's really amazing about this. Here's the eye enhancer. I'm going to go overboard for a moment, and I want to add those lens flare, or the iris flare rather. Now when I do this, what's really neat is look at all the hair that's in front of that eye. It's smart enough to know that that's hair, that's the eye, let's enhance this, let's leave the hair alone. So here's before and after. Before and after. Look at that. I mean, how amazing. Just with one slider, I was able to enhance the eye and then add the iris flare in here. And then, of course, we'd finish this off since we're dealing with the face, with the skin. Apply just a little bit of skin softening. And then I think the last thing I decided to do was come up to composition AI. Because of the distracting elements on the side, I wanted to see how it would handle it. And sure enough, see how I got rid of it. But I'm going to go a little bit, there we go, right about here. Good. So it knew enough there was distracting elements. It got rid of that for me. And then here we're left with this. Good. And once again, before and now after. And it just, Angela, it's just absolutely amazing to see how it knows that there was hair right in front of the face and it's able to enhance the eye.
It blows me away.
Yeah. I don't know what our engineers did to create that, but amazing. All right.
A bit of magic. Just a bit of magic.
Good. Kevin LaRue, did the face template add the eye enhancer? Yes. And visibility by default. Yes, it did. So because it's part of portrait, the templates are smart enough to know, well, there's a person in that image. We're going to automatically enhance the eyes. But it takes a conservative approach when it did that. I like to take a dramatic approach. So from there, I would save the template as my own. And typically, I'll just put V from Vanelli _ and whatever template I used, I'll put that in there. So this way, if I had to go back as a reference, I can remember, oh yeah, I got it from there. So thank you, Kevin. That was a good one. All right.
Yeah, I really like that edit. And her eyes are gorgeous to start with. So bringing them out just makes them magical.
Gotcha. All right. So let's see your second one.
All right. So let me get out of this here. Oh, I went over to Aurora. That's right. Let me click back over here to Luminar. All right. So I started with these two bracketed shots. This is the brighter of the two. And then I have a darker one here that you can see a lot more detail in the sky. So by taking both of those images over to Aurora HDR, I was able to come up with this. And I did crop it pretty significantly. So if we go back over here to our edit module, you can see I did a lot of work. So we started with our original, and I did the fast fix template, which just added a bit of extra detail. So there's the original there that came out of Aurora. And there's our fast fix template. It looks like, actually I changed my mind and went with simple template. So we worked a little bit with our Enhance AI, and then I did my composition. So here's where things got interesting. If I go back up here to our composition AI, if you go ahead and ask it for its interpretation, the best guess, I don't think that's a great crop. It takes off the person over here, and it's just not as pleasing to me. It doesn't focus in on the opening here out to the valley, which I think is really the most interesting part of this image. So instead, I would go here and tell it to change my orientation, take it to a horizontal perspective, and then move this here and move it up a little bit, maybe really get that opening of the cave so it leads you out into that valley, and it's a much more pleasing composition. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. And then I did a few more things to bring out details, tone down colors. I even went with the erase tool, got rid of this little rainbow down here. So there was a lot of stuff that I did, a lot of fun. So we can go back here to our history, and you'll see that it actually took off of where, because I went back to the composition AI and then did some other things. So actually, if I want to get out of that, let me go ahead and hit Command Z on my keyboard and see if this will take me back to where I was before. There we go. I got back all of my stuff here, except for the crop went wonky.
You know what's funny is I didn't notice there was an actual person in that scene.
You don't really see them until you crop in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm not sure why it's taking it's scrunching it.
Go
but
out and go back in.
Yeah, is that
there
it is.
There you go.
There we go. So here's what I ended up with after I toned down the colors, brought out a little bit more detail, did the crop, and it just really brings your eye into that valley. So
awesome.
That was what I did, and that's the power of 2 images with Aurora HDR and Luminar. Very fun.
Now it's interesting because I'd love to see other people's perspective on editing, because like you said there, I never noticed. I was so fixated with the burst, the sunburst, that I didn't even notice the person was in the scene. Now, yeah. Julie asked a question. If you can see it, there it goes. Yes, you did Aurora first with 2 images, and you saved and opened in AI because you have just opened it directly to AI from Aurora instead of saving it first.
So we don't have that integration. What you have to do is once you open it and you send it from Luminar to Aurora, you then export back a TIFF image. Ideally, you can do a JPEG as well if you prefer, but I like to still do additional editing, so I want as much data as possible. So I then export the image that I do in Aurora back to that original folder. I append the file name, usually like -HDR, so I know that that's my new HDR, and it differentiates it, and so I don't overwrite my originals. And then I can go ahead and keep working in Luminar.
Awesome.
But there's no direct send back.
Got it. And then Pat asked, the enhancement I did for the catch light was already there beautifully, but sometimes there's no catch light. That's shame on you as the photographer. It would be great if we could add one. The answer to that is yes, and I'll show you after I show you this one. The answer is yes, you can add it, but in fact, it's perfect. I'm glad, and I didn't pay Pat to do this. Just like the mist I'm about to show you in this image, right here, like we're going to show you how I added this mist. Look at this. But it's so believable when mist is already in the image. So if you already have mist, like in the background or a fog in the background, and then you add more of it, it just makes it more believable. And it just looks awesome. So, but yes, you can technically add it without it being there. So let's go through that. Again, I'm looking at the history, and I opened up, let's see, where was it? Nick's Thunder, or Knight's, I said Nick, Knight's Thunder, I believe. Did I use that? Let me just double check, because we edited this so many times, and what's really cool is every time I hit reset, it keeps all of this, if I came up here and did a reset, and I can go back in history to see exactly what I did. If I want to get rid of my history, all of this, then I would come down here and just click on the original image. Now, anything I make a change from this point on, it'll erase this history. So let's go to template. And, all right, let's see. Oh, here it is. Nice Thunder. Now, what's funny, oh yeah, see, so what's interesting about this, that wasn't my first choice. And that was the one I liked, Backlit Clouds, but I like this one also, which is really cool. And look at this. The dynamic results was the other one I really liked. So what I'm saying is I love these templates because it gives me a suggestion on where I want to begin my edits. So let's stay with dynamic. Edit, and we'll come over to the creative tab, and here we are with Atmosphere AI. All right, so I am going to use fog, but we're going to layer the fog. Apply a generous amount, full strength. Now it doesn't look like it did too much. This is where it comes in, the depth. So it does a 3D rendering of the image. And look at it, it looks like it's rolling in off to the side. I like it right about there. And there we are. I mean, I just think it's incredible on how we're able just to add that little extra to make that image just pop. All right. So there we have that. So Angela, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for another image to do the eyes for Pat.
All right.
If you could you mention to them about a Luminar Insider?
Definitely. So if you have pre-ordered Luminar AI, come find us over at insiders.skylum.com, and then you'll get the absolute best, most recent, up-to-date information about Luminar AI as we announce it. We're also doing these coffee breaks there, but we're doing the same topics a week earlier, so you can learn more, learn it faster, and be super ready for the software when it releases on December 15. Our goal is to have you basically open that new software and be able to get to work right away and know what you're doing. And maybe you need to have a couple of questions, but that you're not unfamiliar and stumbling around and getting frustrated. We want you to be up and running as quickly and easily as possible. So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing these shows, is to make sure you know how to use the software before it's out there. So definitely come over and see us at insiders.skylum.com. We'd love to have you there. Vanelli and I are both there. We're posting articles. We're answering questions. You can even direct message us if you have some questions you'd rather not announce publicly. That's totally cool. We're here to help.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, Angela, don't you like how we just throw that right over to you without it being scripted? Hey, Angela, let's talk about this.
Well, as long as I have an answer and I know what I'm talking about, it's all good.
You're a really easy co-host. So I'll make it real quick. Remember Corey Barker? So I made a comment. I had to talk about his new book, and I go, "Hey, Corey, so what's this I heard, or where did I see your new book is coming out?" He goes, "You saw it right there on the teleprompter. It told you to mention it." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
Just so you know, these things aren't scripted.
Yeah. So
there's no teleprompter.
I'm going to share my screen, and there I am. All right. So this is a picture of myself, and Pat, this is for you. So we're going to come over to eyes, and here's the flare. You see that? So you notice how we have the one catch light here, and Richie Acevedo, my right hand, took this image. We didn't put a bot, which is unusual. I usually have them put another catch light underneath. Oops, sorry, let me put that back. I usually have a second catch light underneath, and we didn't put it in there. I'm going to reset it. There we go. Iris flare. Iris flare. And in a moment, you'll see it pop up. There we go. So here we go. Before, after. Do you see how it's adding it? It's just that little extra. And one thing I didn't mention is my mother always wanted blue eyes. One of us. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I can make my eyes brown. The hazel one was pretty, ooh, that's interesting. Honey, that was it. And then you just tweak it, move it from there. So, but that's just an example. In fact, we ended up using this one, right? Remember this, Angela? We used this one for the body shaping. So,
yep.
Anyways, so Pat, I hope that helped. I hope that helped you to see that we could add it. As of now, I'm noticing, so I have my light at 11, and it's coming down in, and the catch light, AI figured, oh, okay, here's the predominant light. Let's add a little flare at the bottom. It knew enough that that's where the light was coming in from. So that I think is pretty cool. I don't know if later they're going to enjoy us to move or give us the ability to move the catch light around the bottom of the eye. I don't know. My first instinct would be to say no, because the whole goal with AI is less sliders. The moment we ask for another option, they say, okay, well, what's the problem? Don't tell us what you want. Tell us the solution you want. We want the catch light. So if I have the main light coming down here, typically the catch light is on the opposite side. Okay, so then they'll train AI. So where's the predominant light? Oh, it's here? Let's put the catch light down here. And at one point, I'm pretty sure they did have different, like if you don't have any catch lights in the eyes whatsoever. So right now we're able to do the bottom light, the bottom flare. In the past, I know I saw the ability to show an actual catch light in different shapes. Octagon, square, circle, beauty dish, so on. I know it's not in this release, but watching these engineers work, and I think when they watch us do our thing, Angela, they figure, we can make it better for you if we do this, this, and this. So, all right. So Pat, I hope that helped. And yes, Russell did say you could use the dodging and burning tool, which we've done in the past. But keep in mind, I think that's when the engineers saw us doing that, and they figured, that's an extra step. You enhance the eyes, and then you went to another tool, grabbed the dodge tool, and you lightened underneath the well, let us figure out what we could do for you to fix that. And voila, they come up with this. And Kevin says, blue-eyed Vanelli, the next James Bond. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, guys, I know if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Typically, it's a little bit harder on YouTube to answer comments live, but if you, if you have it, please feel free to drop them in there. If we don't answer them live, Angela and I usually go back and we look at the comments and we try to answer them to the best we can. All right?
Absolutely.
Angela, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Oh boy.
What do you have for next week?
Oh, next week, what I'm going to do is, let me take a look here. I actually was just working on an image for that, and it's going to be how to tone down oversaturated colors. Ooh. So if you come in, you have an image, the colors are too bright, or you add a template and you're like, wow, I like a lot about that, but the colors are just over the top. I'll show you a couple of ways to where we can tone it down. So this is the image I'm going to be working with since Vanelli went ahead and shared my screen. I wasn't expecting that. You can go ahead and put it back. That's fine. I'll give a little sneak peek.
Well, that's cool. So you guys got to see it first. All right. So,
right.
So Angela, so the reason why I'm saying this is Angela's extremely organized and focused, and typically she's the one putting a little fire to my bottom because we're finishing up with a user guide for Luminar AI, and that's taking a really long time to get done. So the moment you guys have Luminar AI, you'll have this beautiful user guide that goes with it, and it's all interactive, so it's really cool. But we're putting in 20-hour days getting this done. So Angela has everything mapped out till past Thanksgiving, and so she'll write up as a little like what she's doing, and then she'll say, what are you doing next week? And so I have to give her my list. But we're doing Monday and Tuesday, right? We're doing Monday and Tuesday normal. Wednesday we're going to be doing the Friday wrap up.
Yep.
Correct. So
yep.
For those that do not celebrate Thanksgiving, we wish you an American Thanksgiving. We wish you all the joy and thanks that we have. And since we do celebrate Thanksgiving on a Thursday and Friday we're taking off. Correct? Good.
Yep.
So Wednesday will be the wrap up.
Yes. And then we'll come back the following week with a full 5 days of content. So you can find us on Insiders. If you're watching there, it's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then here on YouTube, we'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And starting the following week, but we'll be Monday through Wednesday next week.
Awesome. Now, Kevin asked, will the user guide be in PDF form? Yes. Yes, it will. And it's really cool is you just type in, body AI, and it'll take you right to that section. And then in that section, what's really cool, it's a living, breathing document, just like Luminar 4 was, that when we come up with new content or a new video, we can instantly put that in. And now the video lives inside there, so you can actually see how it works, how we're doing it for video, and you also have the manual. So there it is. All right, guys. Well,
just a reminder for those who want to download the PDF version of the user guide, make sure you update that when we put out new releases throughout the year. Because if you have just the original one and a couple of updates in, it's going to be a little bit out of date. So just make sure you keep those PDFs updated.
Right. Yep. So when we're translating into something like 6 different languages, I can barely speak English, and I'm not the one translating, thank God. But I'm impressed that we're translating it into so many different languages. And I do want to give a shout out to Skylum and say thank you. Just the amount of attention they're paying to education and support like this, it's amazing. I want to thank them for bringing back season 2 and all the content that they're creating for you guys.
There's some great stuff coming. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure one more last one. David asked, we've heard this before. In fact, I'll let Angela answer this one.
Thanks. A tool for lens blur, particularly for portraits, or a suggested workaround. So what I usually do when I want to blur out areas is you can do negative structure, and you can take those detail sliders and you can also move those to the left. Another way to go is to go into the glow tool. We have a couple of different kinds of glow and slight blur in there. And all of those tools kind of combined can create a softer look. And then you can use the masking tools on those to paint that effect and selectively stay behind a subject. So you can kind of mimic the look of a more shallow depth of field. But there's no specific blur tool at this time.
Yeah,
it's kind of a conglomeration.
Bokeh AI, they talked about that in the past. And that was something that they kicked around. They showed it to us. We thought it looked incredible. Engineers were saying, nope, it's not ready yet for prime time. And so they put it on the back burner, and they're going back and forth. So I wouldn't be surprised if, just like the sky replacement tool. I mean, everyone loves the sky replacement tool. In fact, I'm going to say it. Adobe loved it so much, they decided to implement a sky replacement tool into Photoshop. But version 2 of the sky replacement tool, I mean, it adds the reflection into the water. And Angela, what's your favorite part about that? With the reflection.
Well, I mean, the water reflection is pretty cool. That way you don't have to do any manual masking, flipping images around, any of that. But the fact that you can add motion and ripples to that water, it's just mind-blowing. It's pretty cool
stuff. It's one of those things I just cannot believe. I just can't comprehend how our engineers come up with these things. So, they watch what we do, and then they figure out what can we do to make their life easier.
Yep.
Let's see, can you move eyes around and head? No, you can't move eyes around. No, okay. No, yeah. So
you can enlarge eyes slightly.
Yeah, but you can't, like, I know what you're talking about with like in Photoshop, and there was portraiture, I think it was. One of the other tools where you can actually take the eyes and move them. Now, here's the thing with all of this. With Skylum, their attitude is they want everything to be very simple, but very creative. Fast, very fast and awesome. Once we start getting into stuff like that, I mean, us photographers are going, wow, that's so cool. The general public is going to say, well, what the heck? You know, body AI, you're shaming body. No, we're not. We're enhancing, tweaking it. When we did the blemish removal, oh my Lord, some of the people were upset that, oh, you should embrace people's blemishes. Well, yeah, but if that person doesn't want their blemish embraced, they have the option to let us take it away. So that's where a lot of these tools, like I said, are coming out. But as portrait photographers especially, we have a responsibility to make sure that person still looks like them. If their own mother can't recognize them, then you went way too far. So I hope that answers it. Great. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you guys so much, and enjoy your special weekend.
Thank you.
And we'll see you at the next coffee break.
All right. Bye, everyone.